I put tefillin on him once.
You put tefillin on Rick?
I did put tefillin on Rick Rubin, yeah.
I have this debate a lot in my head of the artists who are saying like Rick Rubin, just do you. Like I don't think about the audience. The audience comes last. But he kind of has the luxury of saying that.
Yeah, he's a billionaire.
out of hit, I just happen to write hit songs.
Yeah.
But what if you don't? And I always go through this. Maybe it's a good question for you. Like thinking about the audience when you're writing.
Yeah.
In that capacity, like to what extent is that a consideration for you when you're making your music?
I don't think about the audience when I'm writing. I do think about the audience when I'm putting a live show together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Because
that's
exactly when you're creating because you've just got to get something out. Mm-hmm. But when you're about to play a live show, if you're not thinking about the audience, then you're not going to be playing live shows for very long.
Okay. You know, Rick Rubin, I just heard a TikTok clip came up and he said, thinking about the audience when you're writing is like thinking about the audience when you're writing your diary. He said writing a song should be like writing your diary. So why would you think of, That's true. Like you can't play to the gallery, and you do it when you're creating, you have to create. Mm-hmm. You have to create, and it has to be an honest process, and you just got to let it go. But when it comes to actually playing it live, you have to think about them.
Yeah, I hear that point. I mean, I've seen artists who just like completely like disregard that there's an audience there. Yeah. I mean, but in a way, when you're writing for people to receive your music, there's always kind of an audience there. I know what you're saying in terms of trying to get the best output, but then when you're skimming it down in a way to try to connect, there's always a part of me that's considering like, I'm trying to connect.
Right.
Otherwise, I would just write the song and never release it.
Yeah.
If it's really just for me. And that's where I take issue. I don't know where I am at this, because it's also the luxury of success allows you to be more flexible with what you put out and loose and less thinking. If you haven't had it yet, what if Rick Rubin had never produced a hit song yet? You think he'd still be saying, it doesn't matter what they think. I'm hungry.
Well, David Bowie also said, David Bowie was also very into that. Yes. But he was always reinventing, and I think he knew the way he had the audience, the way it wasn't just musical, it was the shtick. It was the fact that it was new. His Hadshut, it was changing all the time and bringing in new ideas and new looks. And
I don't think about the audience really. I just put the lyrics in a hat and I cut them up and tape them together like. That's why I get words like crocodile salad. Yeah, yeah, but like people like that about him in a way. But that's his appeal. But but what if that didn't work and like he's still trying to?
But it is by nature performative,
right?
Like he is performing, and he's performing for an audience. It just so happens that he's ahead of the audience, but not everyone's a David Bowie,
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, and not everyone's a Radiohead that is just seemingly doing what they're doing, and it's an 11/8, and everyone seems to love it. I'm like, how?
They know how things sound good. That's why it just feels good.
And so does Rick Rubin, right? Like he's just wired into a sensibility that people really respond to. I'm just saying, like, the danger of that advice. I just think there's dangerous advice. I think Rick Rubin gives artistic advice. He doesn't give career advice. Very different things. A musical career involves a lot of conscious like consideration of your audience, and in a way you don't want it to compromise your art, but artistic advice is just different than career advice.
I'm a little excited for the blowback on Rick Rubin. He's so popular right now. It's inevitable that
I like seeing people
it's gonna go. Well, he's so damn popular.
He won't fall.
No,
he'll just retire and float off into the ether.
I guess
just get up on a cloud and
his interviews with him are so funny. Like Anderson Cooper's like, what do you do? He's like, nothing. I have no musical ability whatsoever. I just lie there and let the energy run through me, and the hit record comes out.
I put tefillin on him once.
You put tefillin on Rick?
I did put tefillin on Rick Rubin. Yeah.
Tell us.
Please go on.
He called me up one day and was like, do you want to come make some songs? And I was like, all right, sure. So I went to his studio, and he said he hadn't put on tefillin since his bar mitzvah, and I was like, you know what, Rick, today is your lucky day.
Oh my God, you little Chabadnik.
I have this, I have a photo, and he told me you can just never show anyone the photo. One day I hope Rick Rubin is like, show everyone the photo of me in tefillin.
Why would he care?
Have you read his
It's very personal, isn't it? Very intimate,
I guess so, yeah.
Have you read his book, The Creative Act? He's very tied into Jewish mysticism.
Sure.
Yeah, like whether he knows or not, and Chassidus also.
He's a Yid.
Yeah.
He's a big neshama.
Yeah.
He's a big neshama.
No, but
I never really thought about it.
He's got payas.
He's got beautiful. And if I have afterwards, I'll show you the photo.
Okay.
And he looks like a Rebbe.
Can we make it the thumbnail of this episode?
Absolutely not.
I know.
Wait, what was producing music with him? What was
we didn't really do much in the
like,
end. We didn't really do much. It was like a few meetings and a few little sessions in the studio and bits. He was my capo on my guitar once. I didn't have a capo on my guitar, so he
held it for you.
He held a barcode on my guitar while I played.
But nothing from those sessions that's been released?
Not really, no.
Interesting.
Nothing that came with it.
What if it's just like all Hasidic niggans and like?
I did want to maintain a relationship as a neshama to a neshama.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because he was a great guy. He was very deep and sweet person.
You did this in California?
In his house in LA.
What a trip.
How does it? I'm gonna ask just like a fanboy question. How does it work? How Rick Rubin gets your number and is like, come to my studio?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I was signed to a major label at the time.
Okay.
And they were like, "Hey, Alex Clare, Rick Rubin," and Rick Rubin was like, "Hey, Alex Clare."
So they like want you to work.
Putting
with
artists
them.
with producers,
Yeah,
trying to
okay.
produce the next stuff and get stuff
I think
out, right?
Cool.
producers tend to look at the repertoire of the artists they work with. I think what happened in my case is my A&R at the time had worked with. He signed Adele.
Right.
He'd also signed a bunch of other, sort of indie UK acts who'd broken through to the mainstream. So I think as a A&R man, Rick respected his integrity. And when Rick was looking at things that he was working with, he heard a strong vocal and looked for a strong vocal in a performance and was like, okay, let's see what we can do.
Cool.
Nothing really materialized of it, which says a lot more about me than it does about Rick Rubin. But
that's the way of the
just
grind.
the way it is, yeah. But it was lovely to hang out with, and I was a bit starstruck. I'm Johnny Cash is one of my all-time musical heroes. I love Johnny Cash very much, and to hear the anecdotes from Rick Rubin about Johnny Cash, I was just like, give it to me. Let's bring about
my goodness.
let's bring about the Johnny Cash sessions, and that was just
that's
amazing.
Just
to hear
for
it from
the
horse's
hang.
mouth. Just for the hang, for
Yeah.
that. To hear about his Johnny Cash interactions over the years was very cool.
Wow.